So we're going to have a little bit of time to spend with us. I don't know whether you want to go first, Vered, and give everyone a bit of an overview,
sure.
and then I'll head on. And then,
sure.
This is a really intimate conversation. So if you want to stop us, ask us questions, put your cameras on and off, you can do that, and we'll answer anything you want, almost.
Yeah. So I'll give you a little bit more background about myself. Laurie and I actually both grew up in South Africa. I grew up in a very small town called Pretoria. And while I was at school, I remember in 1994, we had our first democratic election process in South Africa when Nelson Mandela was elected as president. But prior to that time, I mean, we were basically in South Africa, I don't know if Laurie feels the same, but pretty isolated from the rest of the world. There were a lot of sanctions against South Africa. And, for example, this sounds ridiculous, we didn't have Zara, we didn't have H&M, we didn't have a lot of brands, big brands that were here or in other places.
Or TV programs that we weren't allowed to watch. So yeah, we grew up on certain American TV programs and didn't get to watch British programs.
We had like 3 channels and that was it. So I feel like growing up, my life felt so small. And as I grew up, I guess as I got exposure to the bigger world, I just wanted more of it. And I was so motivated to kind of be in a more international environment. And so even to this day, traveling and exploring is such a big motivation in my life. I love packing my bags, going somewhere else, just because from South Africa, everything is also so far away, so actually going overseas and going to Europe was so exotic. So for me, that's really a big driver in my life. And I think what pushed me really hard to succeed, because I wanted to be able to do the things that, I thought was out there in the bigger world. So there's a bit of that. And so are we sharing our screen now? Yeah, we're doing.
Go for it.
A little bit of.
Yeah, you can lead this in any way that you want to organically, bring in all those pictures and stories. That's great.
Okay, cool. Okay, so I guess this picture over here, let me see if I'm sharing my screen properly.
Can't see it yet.
So
there we go. I can see it now.
So basically this picture for me encapsulates travel and encapsulates being away. These are my children, not all of them, only 3 of them, but the other 2 belong to my next inspiring person. So let me go. So this over here is another, this is the mother of the other 2 children. Let me just see, let me share this one. Oh, there we go. Okay, so that's her. That's my identical twin sister. And she has 2 children. And so she's another big inspiration in my life and another big, I would say, in a way, something that differentiates, I guess, my life from others maybe, in that I had a twin sister growing up. And I think having a twin and having someone that's so close to you can really boost your confidence as well, because you've always got your buddy with you. And then the last one that's in terms of a bit of more about me, and this is the guy that was, and this was the maths teacher over here, Mr. Duplessis, who was just the most wonderful person who really brought out a lot of good things, and was just a great person to have in my life. So that's pretty much a bit of me growing up far away, very close to my family who still live in South Africa, but motivates me even more to be able to travel and to see them and having good people in my life.
Thanks.
Laurie, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, so I'm just going to share my PowerPoint. Will be a second. When we were told to kind of get some pictures together to look at our careers, and I was looking at it and thinking, gosh, it's 20 years. How do you really condense 20 years? And I started, I'll just give you a bit of background. I did a BSc in psychology. And what really motivated me going past the bit I gave you in the background was I loved the neuropsychology bit. I loved the way the kind of chemistry worked in the brain, and I love finding out about the way people ticked. So when I finished university, and I actually had a less straightforward route in that I started university in South Africa and then moved to the UK at 19. A bit like Vered, I had really itchy feet to travel, and my poor parents, I left them at 4 days before my 19th birthday. Looking back now, I can think how crazy that was, but at that age, all I wanted was a bit of adventure and to go somewhere new. And so I moved to the UK and started working, and then started my degree in psychology, carrying it on in the UK. And realized that actually it was pretty hard to keep up with studying overseas fees and trying to work part-time to support myself and things. So I ended up finishing off my degree through correspondence. So actually I had lots of kind of fits and starts. And so I just wanted to kind of illustrate that it's not always straightforward, and not to give up if you do have these things that happen, because I took longer than I probably would have, but actually I now have 2 degrees. I have a really good job, and I think the way that I got there matters little. It's more the kind of the journey and what I got from it. And similarly in my career, when you look at it, although I've always worked in human resources, I've done lots of different jobs in human resources, and when at the time I probably found it less easy, but like other people would say, what are your 5-year plans? And I didn't really know. And I think all I knew was that I was always up for trying something new, and I would always try things out, and actually, so and when I look back now in retrospect, I say some of the things, if I hadn't done those, I probably wouldn't be in the role that I did now. For example, I started with a storage company, and I did an HR role with them, where I kind of did a bit of everything, which gave me a really good overview of all the different things I could do in that role. And then I started doing like an operational training role, which then took me on to my next company, which was a financial services firm, where I used to organize training and development for them. But the fact that I was able to deliver training and get that experience has really helped me in the role that I do now. And then I worked for a transport company, and that was very science-based. Lots of engineers, lots of people that had different careers, and I supported like corporate company parts of the company. I supported at one point maintenance people, so I was down the side of a track talking to them about different HR issues, and they were in their hard hats. I was in signal boxes. I also helped support a program down on a naval base for people that were trying to do their science through an apprenticeship scheme. So I've seen lots and lots of different ways that people have got to where they are now. And I think the reason I'm raising this is that I think one of the things I'd say is, you know, science is a great foundation, and you can do so many different things from it. And I'll probably talk about that a bit more towards the end. But in terms of my career, I kind of wanted to show you a few bits in terms of some of the opportunities when you are open to trying things out. And sometimes I had to be a little bit pushed and encouraged. So the first 2 pictures that you can see at the top of the screen were back in 2014. And that's, again, with my itchy feet, I was given an opportunity. At the time, I was doing a project role, which was a change project for the UK, and acting as a business partner for them. And there was a bit of a quiet period. We were setting up a financial center in India at the time, as a service center, and they had some issues in terms of working with the external company and bringing people from working for them to working for us. And so I got an opportunity to go out there for a month to India, and work in India, and get to know it. And that was a brilliant opportunity to see, and started probably my interests from living in South Africa to living in the UK. I had another point lived in America and did some work there. This was another continent and another culture where I got an opportunity to kind of live and work there, albeit only for a month. But to see what it was like in the working environment, to see the differences in terms of how you had to deal with people, and also to learn that you should not eat curry for 3 meals a day when you're not used to it, because you have really awful heartburn. And the other bit, the other photos are just a little bit about, moving from a role where maybe I was outside of London to being in London was really exciting to start. And that bottom picture there is just after I had my first child. or my only child, and I got to go as part of an inclusion initiative to go into the House of Commons. So that's me in Parliament, being able to take my child in there and as one of many mothers. The next slides I've just got is just to kind of bring you more up to my current role, where I do a lot on diversity and inclusion. And this is it shows you a little bit of some of the programs we do. So as part of my role, I run some of the development program for underrepresented employees to help develop and progress our next streamline of leaders. And this particular, the two slides at the top, were the program that we kicked off in Brussels last year for our women leaders. And actually, I not only got to organize it and run it for the whole 12 months that we ran it, but I also got to be part of it, which was great. It was just at the time when I was taking on this role, and it was like absolutely perfect opportunity to be able to do this. And I think this is really useful to illustrate, because I had done as I said, various different HR roles, but when I was given this role, this was given to me as an opportunity. And I said, I can't do this. I don't have this background. And it was through support that I had two leaders that said to me, yes, you can do this, that I realized this is something I'm passionate about. And bottom ones are just showing you that, you know, I have a wider region of about 16 different countries. And this was me going to Dubai last year, just before Christmas, missed those times, to be able to do some training with the staff members there. So and one of the people I work with on diversity and inclusion there. So we had a really great time. So yeah, just a few examples here of some of the things you can get involved.
That's amazing. That was amazing to hear both of your stories. Thank you so much for sharing. We just have like 1 minute left.
Sorry,
I think maybe Julia has a question for you, or maybe Tammy.
Paige.
I would have a question. I don't know if you have time, but it's, if you're working in a team on a team project, what's the best way to make sure everyone feels included? And if someone looks like they're feeling excluded, how can you make them feel included?
Great.
Sure. I think I'm quite conscious of that. Coming from a lot of actuaries have a very bad reputation of being extremely quiet. And so I think it's about understanding different people and how they work best. You know, it would not be good for me to call on someone in a big meeting room that I know is quite shy and difficult for them to express themselves in a big setting. Some people work really well in those settings and they love speaking out in a boardroom, but you have to tailor your approach to really extract everyone's contribution.